Hi, my name is Jake Williams from Rendition InfoSec. You probably know me better as Malware Jake on Twitter. I wanted to take a minute to post some thoughts on long-form thoughts on the Hacking Back article that appeared in the New Yorker today. Hacking back is something that I've discussed a lot. I know it kicks around a lot in InfoSec land as something that people are either greatly supportive of or greatly against. I happen to fall into the latter camp of being staunchly against hacking back. One of my big concerns there in every case is what is hacking back going to accomplish for the business, right? What goals did we set out to achieve, and can we actually achieve those goals with hacking back? One of the things that I'd like to bring, though, and if you haven't read the New York article, definitely you should. I'll have it linked here beneath the video. But one of the things that we find a lot is that folks don't have a good goal for what they expect to get out of a hacking back exercise. So they go out and say, "Yeah, we're going to hack back," and the question is, what do you expect to get out of this? What does your end goal look like? Some of the answers that we get are actually quite disturbing. We get some answers along the lines of, "Hey, we were planning to basically recover all of our data. All right, by hacking back, we'll be able to go back and steal our data back, or identify how much data was stolen in the first place." Of course, I think we probably, if we're grounded in reality, I think we can pretty conclusively say that's not going to be the case, right? The odds that we're able to go back out and get that data and steal it somehow from a hot point where it's been exfiltrated to seem very, very weak, right? In order for this to be a realistic case, one, we have to detect the intrusion immediately. That's something that is not a normal thing. Second thing is that we then have to get that data from the hot point, which, by the way, is another victim. Likely it's likely not infrastructure controlled by the adversary. And then third, we have to assume that the adversary, as advanced as they were to compromise us, is not advanced enough to have made a copy of the data in the interim. So the odds of us getting that data back, nil to none. I understand, of course, the visceral need to go out and hack back. I totally understand that. But there's so much that plays into this. One of the things that they brought up in the article, although potentially not as much as I think deserves attention, is that if you're engaging in hacking back, you're very likely interfering with an ongoing investigation. So the odds that you have uniquely identified this hot point and the FBI or other international law enforcement agencies have not, seems to be pretty weak when it comes down to it. The odds are good. Again, that there are active operations there. The difference is that when the FBI taps something upstream, at an ISP or something along those lines, whether it's the FBI or some other international law enforcement organization, they have resources that again, you and I do not. And we are much more likely to tip the attackers off to our investigation than the FBI or other law enforcement. So that there alone is one reason that you definitely shouldn't go after. Beyond the fact that it still is illegal under U.S. law, you're still violating the CFAA, gaining unauthorized access to a system or exceeding your authorized access on a system. And of course, if Georgia SB 315 passes, that will be yet another reason, particularly if you're in the state of Georgia, your traffic transits the state of Georgia, or if the asset that you're hacking back through is in the state of Georgia, that would also be another reason not to approach that. But again, I'd like to point out that you are very likely to interfere in a law enforcement investigation, and that alone should honestly keep you from going down that road. I can't imagine the majority of folks I talk to aren't really interested in interfering with law enforcement investigations. But when we bring that up, it's something that a lot of folks haven't really discussed yet. It's something that they haven't put a lot of thought into. It's not in the realm of negative side effects, right? Look, if you ever question whether or not hacking back is right for you, I would recommend just go talk to legal counsel. I've never done this when I've spoken with legal counsel where they've said, yes, go forth and hack someone else's machine on the off chance that we're able to benefit our organization, right? Look, when you really start stacking the benefits versus the detriments with hacking back, it's not difficult to see that hacking back is probably not the right route to go. Again, I'll mention here that there are far better ways to spend your limited budget. Presumably, if you're hacking back in the first place, you've been hacked, right? And that means that there's been a lapse of cybersecurity hygiene or cybersecurity discipline on your in your organization already, and that likely means that there's been some place where we could have spent some budget to implement another control, to implement better monitoring, where we have not. So my number one recommendation there is going to come back to spend those resources or expend those resources, whether those are people, process, or technology improvements. Spend those on controlling the environment, right? Getting some more monitoring in there. Of course, we run a 24/7 SOC for that exact purpose. So look at putting more monitoring in. It's not a matter of hacking back. Actually accomplishing a tacit goal. Now look, again, I understand the visceral desire to go back out there and take it back to the adversaries that took your data in the first place. Totally understand, and I don't blame you there. It's just that when you start breaking it down into component parts and you think about the potential to interfere with a law enforcement investigation, the potential to further victimize a victim by hacking a hot point, the legal liability that comes with, let's suppose for a moment there's other organizations' data on that hot point, you then pull that back, you're receiving stolen property. There's so much out there. And by the way, definitely, I think it's worth mentioning as well, Motherboard posted a link, Joseph Cox from Motherboard posted a link on Twitter where last year he talked about hacking back. And one of the things that he noted was that the FBI had already considered filing charges and bringing charges against some people involved in hacking back, so actual CFAA charges. Now, while we haven't seen that yet, know that it's something that they're actively contemplating. And if you know that, that kind of puts that in a whole new light about, is this something that we should actually be partaking in, right? So again, I liked the article. I think the article was great, but I would really encourage anybody that's reading it, and I think as you read it, it kind of comes across this way, but just to add some flavor to it, we highly recommend that you avoid that urge to go hack back. And again, the easiest way that we've found to shut that down with folks that are understandably have a desire to go out to go out and reach out and touch someone, as we might say. One of the ways we find that we're able to go counter that effect is just to simply ask, hey, draw us out here, on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard. Show us what you actually intend to accomplish. What does the end state goal look like, right, for this expenditure of resources? And usually when we start doing that, we're able to go in and say, but you see over here, it's unlikely we'll be able to recover your data, right? Oh, okay, well, but you can at least make them hurt. And it's like, well, if we shut down the hot point, we're actively impacting another victim, right? And they have lots of other hot points. Okay, well, don't do that either, right? Excuse me. And so as you work back through the entire realm of possibilities there, it really becomes clear that again, it's generally not something that we win at. Now, look, governments, law enforcement, they definitely have resources that we don't and goals that we don't. But in general, for business organizations, this isn't something that we want to get involved in. Anyway, thanks for your time. I'm Jake Williams from Rendition InfoSec.